Welcome back, everybody, to Shapes in the Dark. Um, we last left our rogues somewhat bloodied and beaten. Fernelius got stabbed, a good one, stabbed right in the lung. Um, he's on the mend, though. He has inherited the ibis, the Ibisian portion of the Yathite tenement. Um, which is fancy talk for a very rundown, what looks to be a rat's nest apartment building. He shares some of these homes, these hovels, with Setites, who are a little bit more rowdy and unruly people. And his direct neighbors are four individuals, Yathites, who worship Ta, the Yathite god of craftsmen, and the Yathites also worship Ta as a god who sees over commerce and trade. The stage curtains will open to our two intrepid adventurers in, well, we'll say you guys are kind of lounging about in the garden out front of the Ibis tenement. Amorous, would you describe your character for us?
The Dawn Fairfolk. Oh, he looks better than he looked a couple chains ago, at least. He's a little bit on the short side. He only stands about 5'2", 5'3". Out of curiosity, Game Master, would he have had the resources to get his hair re-dyed?
I would hope that he got he's looking very vibrant, like a peacock now.
Yes. So,
I mean, you've had 6 months and like 5.5 days now.
True. Fair enough.
Plenty of time to hang out in the salon.
So, yeah, less of his hair is black than it is a myriad of other colors, even in the relatively primitive ways of doing hair dye. He still is able to get a kaleidoscope of colors going through. They kind of intermingle and shift depending on how he has his hair done up, as well as if he's wearing a hood or whatnot. As always, he has his loot with him, as well as his, bristling armament of ebon daggers. But for the most part, he is kind of just waiting out the recovery of his buddy, as well as doing additional research before they get ready to make their trip. He is still currently decked out in ebon gear, the leather hauberk, greaves, and the whatnot, as well as still holding on to his raven feather cloak from way back in the first days of this adventure. Besides the daggers along his right hip, you see one terrible clap still. He has not let that thing out of his sight since learning what power lingered there. But at the same time, since the fight in the bar, he has not called upon it again. Nor has he really messed with it, other than he knows it's there, and if it ever glints up at him, he knows shit's about to go down. Besides that, currently in the gardens, he is just softly plucking as he's kind of just relaxing for a day finally. Seems like they never have a day of rest. But besides that, he's just making small talk with either his compatriots or whoever manages to come along.
In the in the time that has transpired, Tane has made himself busy tending to his new herd. He's made himself a very dutiful horse dad, if you will, tending to his herd, making sure everyone is healthy and fit for the road. He has spent quite a bit of time, stressful and otherwise, outside of the frozen north and the glacier home of his hardy Nordic people, and he's politely excused himself to spend time with his kinsman, as you guys will likely be out upon the road once again, and he busies himself with that, as well as aiding the rest of the populace with this pandemic of something known as the sweating sickness that has come to grip uh, Felport these past several months. Um, he is not currently with you, as like I said, he's quite busy with that. Um, he did, however, make his wishes known that if you were to uh, sup with the Umbriads beneath the mountain, then to return to him and make sure that everyone is informed, because he will grudgingly finish this quest with you. However, with the full intention that we will be coming back and no Faustian deals are to be made without his knowledge. With that, he has excused himself to be about the business of a shaman. Fernelius, would you describe your character for us, please?
So Fernelius is a rather tall, Umbriad-looking fellow with very fair skin. Is beginning to take on the almost marble sheen that he is normally accustomed to. That he had lost for a bit while he was traveling and being under the sun and out in the world, if you will. It's still there under the paleness. Of course, some of that might be attributed to the fact that he is currently convalescing from a grievous wound. He, even in his relaxing times now, he has taken to wearing that armor again, because he felt that he let his guard down a bit by being a little too comfortable to be at home before, and paid the price by being ran through by that fiend for Rod. And he has decided he is no longer going to leave himself that unguarded. Over the armor, it's which is of course ebon. He has a dark brown robe, which replaces what he customarily worn as a black robe, just a basic scribe to the brown of an actual sage of ibis. The inside lined with a white material. And he's currently sitting at a rickety desk that has its feet planted on planks that some may refer to as a porch or a deck, but truly the boards are just there to keep one from sinking into the mud, because obviously Felport is constantly under the threat of rain. There's a bit of a portico above him, more really just what might at one point have been a part of some ship's hull. That has been added on to the front of these tenements to keep the rain off of the main doorway. And so he sits at an old rickety desk with his scribing utensils out, his quill, and he's currently scratching at a piece of parchment. Occasionally stopping to lick the tip, make sure it stays sharp, dip it into the inkwell again, and write some more. His eyes, very intent on this page, are a deep amber. His hair is black and hanging down his back, pulled back with a cord, much longer than he'd ever had it before. It's grown over the years, and in the occasional flashes of light, there's a bit of a hint of red in that blackness. And as he finishes up the missive that he's putting together, he reaches over into a little pot, pulls out some fine sand and sprinkles it across the top of the page to dry the ink. Looks over at Amorous He says, "Thank you for the accompaniment of the music. It really helps one to concentrate." And he holds the page up to the light to make sure it's legible. And from the view of the audience, they can see that it's a contract for upkeep and improvements to be made upon the Abyssian apartments, if you will, naming a couple of fellows from actually his neighbors, worshippers of Ptah. He puts it down and looks over at Amorous and says, "So, that's done. What do you have on your agenda today, my friend?"
Amorous will just lightly pluck as he kind of ponders the question. Well, I went earlier this week. I played last night. I think we did research like a couple days ago. I kind of feel like we just had. Right?
Much better at that.
I kind of feel we just need a day to relax.
We should, yes. He holds the contract up, maybe just a little bit to make sure that it continues drying, which takes quite a long time in this air. He places it down on the desk and puts the pot of sand on top of it so it doesn't blow away, and reaches for his pipe. Takes a twig from his pocket, reaches up to a lamp, a smoky oil lamp above him, lights the end, and as he packs the pipe with tobacco, and Layson takes a puff and immediately begins coughing. He's not sure if I'm ready for this yet. It's such a waste, and he puffs another once again. He coughs quite a bit again, but eventually he taps the pipe out, shaking his head. He says, "Yes, relaxation would be good." So, well, from what what they say, we're out of the rainy season for a bit. Looks out over the garden there to the light drizzle. At least it's not the heavy pounding rain, right?
There is a red ibis swimming about in that pond there. A red ibis is a very auspicious creature, similar to a black-white crane. Ibis are all white. It is in fact a red ibis, all red, with black eyes. So keep that in mind.
It's been there for a couple of days, right?
3 days at most.
Okay.
Again, yeah, very auspicious creature.
Well, Infernal stand up and open the door and reach into the small apartment inside and grab a small bag, which he's been keeping sort of full in that area. Spent a few coins basically to replenish the place, get some food. He goes over and he scatters a bit of a dried seedy bread that he bought and broke up into pieces over next to the ibis in the water, sort of as an offering, and also to keep the bird fed. He did, basically about a handful. Then he goes and sets it back down again, says a little prayer under his breath in Yethite, and he says, "Feeling better today. Maybe it's time to do a little poking about, if you will."
You be careful, because every time you poke about, you tend to lose something.
He reaches up and pounds the armor in his chest. He's, "I'm ready this time."
Make sure we get you a helm, though. Protect those teeth.
He reaches in and picks the helm up from the inside of the place and puts it on his head. "No problem, my friend." "Yes,
All right, good boy.
I'm prepared now." He belts on his shamshir, his tulwar, around his on his belt around his waist. This beautiful piece that the hilt itself is actually carved into an ibis's head. And he says we should probably go find out how, or on at least what ship maybe that Farad came on, if they're still in port.
Well, if none of them survived that fight, then you have a good chance they are still in port.
It's true.
And actually, upon seeing the Talwar and that ibis head, Thorn would actually look over at the red ibis and look back at his friend. I can't remember. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
He looks over at the ibis. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I'm assuming it's a good thing, right? Or should I check?
You're not sure.
Okay. He sort of looks at it and shakes his head and he says, I hope it's a good thing. Let's put it that way. But we may get lucky. Remember the last time that they came to port and picked us up, there was a certain woman on board. We might be able to catch her.
To the docks?
Or at least the docks, I think so. Yes, sir. He reaches over and pulls the door closed after placing the paper inside that he was writing and putting his quill back in its case and into his pouch. And as he turns, the medallion clinks against his ebon mail with that red ibis head gleaming on the copper or the bronze disc. And he secures the door and says, "After you, my friend."
Which will walk out, still strumming along, kind of like a no tune of real merit, kind of just stringing notes along at random, like he's trying to get something in his head.
Fern throws his hood up as he walks out into the street. Follows, bobbing his head.
A few moments later, you find yourselves amongst the docks, and there are. I've stressed this enough with the Arborians in the city, still choked with hulking tree people, and the harbor itself flooded with ships left, right, and center. It's hard for you not to bump into one or try not to step on another lounging in the street. But you make your way down, and you're looking for that particular ship that came last. You do not see that particular ship.
I wouldn't assume that they would come in the same ship, but okay. He'll walk over. Fern will walk over to one of the stevedores, the guys who works the docks, and he asked the fellow if he gives him the description of the guys in the uniforms, they're the guards that Farad had brought with him, and asked him if he's by chance heard of or seen any others that might match that description here at the docks recently.
There was one, this bearded folk actually tells you, one that by that description ran through the streets with a horrible cut on his knee, but he was acquired by the watch, and when he tried to resist the watch, um, he just kind of looks down like he doesn't want to say.
He Fern will pull out about 5 copper, link them together a little bit, and say, did they take him anywhere in particular, or did they deal with him on the premises?
They. I saw the one ruffian run down an alleyway, and a couple of the watch followed him. And he came out another back street where another had been waiting for him, and they mercilessly beat him in the street and then drug him off somewhere, I do not know which. But they took him up the high street into the eastern quarter.
All right, I'll hand him the coins. Being a resident of Felport, what's up that way?
Some of the more the eastern quarter is more it's more residential.
Okay.
There's a lot of artisans that live around the harbor, in the harbor. A lot of inns are there. It's kind of like a lot of the mercantile. A lot of foreigners hang out there. City dwelling citizens live either in the eastern quarter or the upper quarter, which is where most of the nobles, most of the wealthy people live.
Okay. Look over at Amorous and so, well, you think we should go up into that way, or think maybe we should? No, we talked about possibly speaking to the watch about them, or possibly even doing some more research.
Well, if the watch picked them up, we could probably go talk to the watch and do 2 birds, 1 stone.
You do, however, know that the militia house, like their barracks headquarters area, is actually up in the upper quarter where the rest of the nobles are. It's one of the more fancy buildings.
So, you don't want to go up there? Okay.
Why not? We got the day to relax and do what we want.
A couple hours across town walking will actually get you there, yes.
Okay. And is that in the general direction also of the Great Library? Or is it opposite maybe?
I have the street map of Felport in my head. Yes, you can actually, yes, you can actually cut from where you guys are currently. I wish I had an interactive map for you to actually, because it would be really damn cool.
Right.
You would go from the harbor into the central quarter where the Death Knell Citadel is in the keep. You cut through that. The academy is actually beneath the castle, and then a hop, skip, and a jump away is the gate that gets you to the upper quarter, and then around the corner there's the militia house. So maybe a 45 minute. It's a shortcut if you go straight to the academy and then go around the corner, instead of using the main way to go all the way around the city, because it's a big circle.
Okay.
Right.
Or Mike's seen the map. It's more of an oval.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you say? Let's go to the academy first, and then over to speak with the watch.
Either way works.
Okay.
I mean, shorter so we can, get answers quicker and go back to other pursuits. So shortcuts are always nice as long as they're actual shortcuts.
I'm going to look at one thing I haven't yet looked at the academy.
All right. So next scene, you guys are on the doorstep of the library.
Okay.
Across the street from the library is the Dismal Fury, the Temple of the Five Gods.
Okay. All right. Guess we'll proceed inside and go look for one of the tenders of the library. Jump through to the academy area and back into the the actual library section. One of the researchers, probably.
The place is crawling with them. You don't have to look. Just open your eyes.
Right.
Well, I'm looking for one that I
Tail one
recognize that I know. I'll go to him. Also, I need your assistance finding some information. I'm looking for anything that has to do with the history of the Umbriads and their connection to, I'll just look around, vampires. Particularly, there is a rumor that I'm trying to track down.
The half-breed standing there, he's actually half Umbriad, half Ebon folk. He kind of cocks maybe a little bit bushier eyebrow than you'd think for a half-breed at you. There's more humanity in there than Fae. He says, vampires and our people?
It's been known to happen. I just sort of smiled, mouth closed.
Best you keep your mouth shut. As well, there, if you go up that stairway and then go down the hallway, to the left-hand hallway, you won't. If you turn right, you will get lost. Librarian joke. I'm sorry. Left-hand hallway with the door, and he gives you a clay tile that has a rune on it. He goes, find this, and that's the archive you'll want.
All right.
Some
I'll take a look at it.
Super primitive Dewey Decimal System there.
That's fine. Live back over to Amherst, shall we?
We shall. Of course, being in the library, Amherst, of course, will stow the loot.
Be quiet. We're trying to read. Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
Shut up!
Read quieter. So Fern will follow the directions this fellow gave him. Go up the stairs, turn left, not right, because he would get lost. Right.
Right. Not
Right.
left. Right.
Yes.
Correct.
And,
when we answer in the affirmative, we say correct.
and to get down to the areas where they have the different books and such, and the different sections, and start looking for this rune somewhere on one of the stacks, or possibly a cubby hole. See where it might match up.
It's not hard to find. You match it with the rune above the doorway. You open that door, and it is a rectangular room with bookshelves lining the walls. It's about 15 wide, 35 deep. There's 2 bay windows at the far end, and there is a shelf down the middle of this long room.
Okay.
There's quite a bit of material in here. You have a mix of primitive books, a lot of scrolls, and a ton of clay tablets.
Okay. Well, Amorous, you take left, I take right.
Sure.
Just look for anything that mentions the Umbriads and vampires, and we'll collect them together on one of these tables and start going through them. See what we can find. So that's what we shall begin doing.
All right.
Shall I do
Academics.
an academics? Academics.
Awareness would be for everything else. If you actually want to find something in a library, it's academics.
Academics. Yep.
Fine print in the
Academics?
guidebook. Yep, academics.
19 here.
So 19 and
28.
28.
Nice.
Well, if Amorous isn't going to find it, then Colonel Ace.
It doesn't deserve to be found.
No. The only mention of undead is Seloth, and from legend, he's not a vampire; he's a white.
Right.
And
So-
he was a primordial that was executed by having his hands chopped off and thrown off a cliff, as if it wasn't good enough.
How very Greek of you.
Yeah. Early Umbriads are very Greek in the torture. But
They follow the Grecian formula.
yeah, right. In Greek, yeah, right. Pythagoras.
Yeah.
But aside from that, no mention of vampires. A few necromancers, people who study the undead, but no vampires in particular.
These necromancers. Are there any that are listed that are seen to be active today, alive today that we know of?
Oh no.
Okay.
And most of the entities that you've found died a long time ago.
Okay.
Or it's heavily implied that they should have, and they better be dead, otherwise we're all doomed. Quite a bit of history regarding the Overseer's connection with the Umbriads. You actually find out, it is confirmed that the Overseer is in fact half Umbriad. He's actually a Geet. So you
No
kind
wonder
of like,
he likes them so much.
so you kind of like, you go, wait, which came first, Ebon folk or Geets? We don't know.
And oddly enough, in a long twisted idea of heredity, it's possible that both myself and Tane might be related to him. Maybe distantly.
Might be.
That's one twisted family tree. I'm just saying.
That'd be something like 14th cousins, which isn't blood related anymore.
7 times removed just for kicks.
Right?
Yeah, 14 cousins, 7 times removed.
Ugh.
On my father's side, by marriage.
Just sister
we-
To
fucking
the sister-in-law.
nowhere.
So,
Anyway,
okay. So okay. So I basically are making notes about this and about that, and the different necromancers that had passed in the past. Do I find anything by chance about scholars, Umbriad scholars specifically, that are interested in vampire lore? Was there anything like that in here at all?
scholars, yes. Scholars interested in vampires, no.
Okay. So basically, you're saying there's not very much about vampires here.
No. Either
That's right.
A is one of their absolutely closest guarded secrets, or your mom is one hell of an odd duck unicorn of her people.
Well, I
I'm
assume
gonna go with
she's
yes.
not a duck.
Yeah, right? So,
Okay. Well, I don't think we're going to find much here, Emerald. We may have to actually go to the source.
and hopefully those STDs don't cross the species barrier. I mean, wait, what? Sorry. Excuse me. Sorry.
Don't give out all the secrets.
Oh,
Maybe he should go
We
into
are
conditioning. I'm just
absolutely
saying.
yeah.
Of all the
No,
PCs in this campaign that I should have been poisoning, it's Amorous.
I bet.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
Amherst doesn't get shadow sickness. He just gets STDs based on what town he goes to.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. If the sickness crosses the species barrier.
Right.
Is very true. Which it very well might. You never know.
Just for Mike's benefit, this might make you laugh or might really piss you off. Tane actually passed his conditioning test when you guys were in the swamp. Had he not, he would have gotten dryad marks.
Ooh.
The fungal thorn zombie sickness, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I've heard tale of that.
Oh, that's a story for another time. Mike, you'll have to.
That was the second time Hawthorne burn, I believe.
Anyway.
Yep. That was the second time Hawthorne burn was when the fungal zombies came across the damn river.
Anyway.
One
Okay,
day I will tell you how I was involved with that. Anyway.
There you go.
So
the floor is yours.
All right. So after obviously not finding much in the academy that's going to really be helpful for us, do I have this in the sense? I'm going to do a quick premonition check.
Go for it.
To think about ponder a possibility. Premonition.
I will say though, without you having to roll, you guys, since you'd been since the encounter with Farad, you guys have been a little uneasy going out in public, and you guys you feel like you've been watched.
Okay.
So, chins down, daggers out, guys.
Okay. Gee, I wonder why.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah. I just wanted to cement that for you.
Just to make sure that you know, Fern currently has his weapon secured in the manner that makes it appropriate within the city, but has a specific knot tied that will make it come off very. It's basically the fake knot. Basically, looking at the way this is laid out and knowing what I know about the academy and the kinds of things they normally have here, is it odd that they have almost nothing about vampires? Could it be conceivable that someone has removed their lore about vampires, possibly?
Given the fact that it was confirmed by Farad himself about 11 sessions ago that there are in fact vampires that are enlisted with the Watch, yes, it's very fucking suspicious.
Okay. All right. Well, Amorous, I think maybe we need to go down and talk to the city watch.
Militia house.
Which is a 10-minute walk from here, by the way.
Okay.
All right.
As we head out, he'll I'll do it real quick.
Back out on the front steps of the library there, Amorous, you'll see a bunch of your cousin Faye, a gang of Arborians. By gang, I mean like a column. There's 30 of them. No, I say a column is like 3 times that. Excuse me. Hey, this is like a war band. They're not dressed for war. Obviously, you're not going to part an Arborian from his weapon, even in Felport. You're just not.
Right.
But
are they marching with purpose, though?
No, they're not marching. They're just they're milling about in front of the temple there. It looks like this is a social visit, but mind you, know, Arborians, a social visit does have some military precision in it. A couple of them hoods up, their war swords hanging from their hilts. Actually, yeah, from their hips. They're kind of scanning like the rest of them. Like you'll see one of them out from under his hood just kind of go, and he doesn't do anything. He recognizes that another Sealy is in the area.
How goes the day?
Do you like shout that across the square there?
That's right. They're at the temple. We're at the academy.
It's a big square and it's like good 80 yards across.
No, but by the same token, so he did the whole head nod toward me, like specifically, right?
You can tell that he's looking at you.
Okay. Yeah, I will walk over to within comfortable speaking distance and then give the head nod, give the little finger salute, and then once again say, how goes the day?
with the hand that's actually on the hilt of his sword. He kind of gives you one of these. And he replies with, hopefully it rains again. Actually, like he pulls up his sleeve so he exposes the bark skin. Hopefully it rains again. All is well.
That's good.
He kind of looks up and down the road. The city is better when it has Fae singing in its street. Who's your friend there? He looks over your shoulder.
That is, for lack of better wording, my brother in arms, Fern.
A.
We have been probably literally through hell and back in our last couple of cycles together.
I see. You'll see behind him at the front of this troop what looks to be the archpriest of the Silent Monolith here in the city actually comes out, and he's kind of like doing the whole like Pope Francis thing, shaking hands and kissing his hand kind of thing. He's doing the high priest thing, visiting him. And he just kind of like, yeah, right.
I hate that guy.
Fern is going to be about 5 steps away. Basically, he's going to like stop and cameras go forward. He'll still be there within earshot, but he's respecting the distance of people because members might know this guy and they don't want to approach too close and crowd him when his 30 good friends.
Right? Because there's a whirlwind of Fey iron and 2 bodies lay dead in the street.
Right, yeah.
Especially since the Arboreans are really on edge about the war in just all across the sea.
He actually, when they're talking, he'll see High Priest guy come through. He will look back at this guy and just hanging out for the day, or is there something of importance going on? Don't normally see entire crowds of you guys just meeting up somewhere unless it's serious.
Visiting the temple. We understand that Lekra is considered a pagan religion to these mortal people, but we do have some preferential treatment. And you see kind of like an amber, kind of like a gold amber eye kind of wink from under that hood.
Yeah, well, hopefully one day we don't really have to hide our beliefs anymore. That is the hope.
True.
And Amherst would he's kind of watching this guy and watching the high priest, and then he's like, wait, he asked me who Fern was, and he'll kind of like do like the little head shake. Sorry, my manners. And he'll extend his arm, and I'm Amherst, and who do I have the pleasure of speaking to?
Let me get you his name here quick. He actually goes by the name of Guion. Let me spell that for you in the chat here.
I was close. I had a U instead of a W.
If anyone who is familiar with Welsh names, there you go. Super oldie timey Welsh name.
And he looks like to be essentially the captain of this group.
No, he's one of the foot.
Oh,
He's just part of part of the infantry. He's a squad mate. He's a grunt.
He just happened to be the one to look over. Got it.
Yeah, he's a sentry. Yeah.
Okay.
The captain is actually up with the high priest, and he's as you look up their captain actually he kisses the archpriest's hand. He bows. He takes a few steps off to the archpriest's left-hand side, and the rest of these troopers kind of like queue up to sort of give their blessing and um, sacrifice, pay homage, that sort of thing. A couple of them tithe. You see some silver coins being dropped off.
And are they currently coming down the steps, or just staying up there at the top and letting the soldiers come to them?
He's up top, and then this troopers are kind of like moving up to them, but they're like the couples that the few that have actually finished their business have like kind of going off to the side and like coming back down in kind of like an arc, a slow arc coming back to you guys. So they're kind of making a circle queue.
Yeah.
No one is within speaking distance, shouting distance, of course, to you guys specifically. You
is
notice
Guion looking like?
Oh, sorry, go for it. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, is Guion looking like he's going into the queue, or is he just staying put regardless?
He's half facing you, kind of, but he and a couple of the other guys that you see here, that you assume are dressed and armed similarly to him with bows, head on a goddamn swivel.
Okay, so they're literally the sentries for the group.
Right, yep. So he's speaking to you. He's dividing his attention, but he's still... You look behind him every so often. Very sharp lad, honestly.
Right.
This guy is much younger than you. Maybe by like a century and a half younger than you.
He is young then. Which, as I see, like, his head on a swivel,
facial hair.
Right. Which, like, as his head goes on the swivel, and I'm seeing this, I will actually make a point to actually look over his shoulder a time or two, and be like, "There's nothing behind you. I got your back. Just focus on the front."
He nods, and when he actually, you know what, Fern, your hood is up. You're pretty obscuring your face, but your holy symbol is out for everyone to see, correct?
It's basically he's wrapped his robes around him, so yeah, it possibly is sort of hanging there, so yeah.
All right.
It's there.
It would be one of your precepts or your banes not to hide yourself.
Yeah, because knowledge is what we spread, and knowledge of what we are.
Right.
You know, knowledge.
So this lad kind of like furrows his brow at you. He's familiar with XIII gods, and he goes, "That's not a Tyrannian, is it?" And he unclicks the war sword from its scabbard, which this click actually
is audible.
Tips off some of the other ones, and a couple of the other guys like turn around real fucking menacing,
right?
Low.
Like, oh shit, he did something.
Fern will say loud enough for his voice to carry to them. In Feywise, no, Umbriad.
Oh.
He'll push his hood back just a little bit to expose his face.
Unseelie.
He nods.
So Guion will actually, because he's like 3 steps higher on the step from you, but he'll like pop down a few paces, and he'll kind of like he'll pass Thorn, and kind of like as he's doing, he kind of gives him that look of, excuse me, but he's regarding you as a person. He shows his back to you.
Which is something, yeah. And
he walks right up this. Now, just for Keith's benefit here, he's an Arborian. He's 6'2". He's about a century and a half younger than Amorous, but just bulldog. Like he walks up to you like he fucking owns you, and he does not sweat you at all. And he just looks into your eyes, And he goes, I do not see a trace of Turan in you. That's
No,
good.
my master was Yethite.
Good. They still stand with us, and the Pharaoh still grieves for Corwin.
I've heard many tales of Cord. My master thought highly of him.
And he actually just kind of does this signal, is this squat signal with his hand, and everybody in the troop relaxes. And Guion goes back
Yep.
to where he stands, and back to which he's now in the queue, so he bows and then excuses himself. But at this point, the captain has come down, and
Here we go.
He's looking suspicious at the two of you. He has not spoken yet.
As Guion says, he's going to go ahead and ask to be excused, I will just give him a small bow and tell him to have a good day. And as the captain comes down, he'll kind of do the same thing like he did to Guion when he first showed up. He'll give a small bow and do the half salute type of deal and basically ask him, how goes your day?
The captain replies with, I bide fine. Our ship is the next one, and we have a few hours to kill, so the temple was a healthy boost for the boys' morale for the long trip across the sea.
Oh, I'm glad you guys are getting out. I saw the docks. Those things are still packed.
Most of those are actually Felport ships. We have purchased quite a few.
Oh.
And you'll see that they're still making more. The overseer
we always gotta
has
make more.
given leave to those of his Ebon watch who are Arborian, or at least half Arborian, leave to fight with us, which strangely enough has changed some things in the city. Arborians are a fair portion of the Ebon Watch's might, and he kind of looks down the road, and you'll see a few Ateans coming up the way, probably to pay respects with the archpriest of the Crushing Depths. The Ateans are allowed to serve Felport instead of wallowing in their slums and their shanties outside the city.
Fern looks down and sees him coming, shudders a little bit. He says, those things give me more of a chill up my spine than any vampire ever did.
Vampire?
He looks over at the fellow and says, vampires. Horrible things.
I have heard of such things. I have not had the pleasure or the displeasure of crossing blades with one.
4 nights
Oh,
since,
it's a
my friend
displeasure.
Amherst here laid one low. Amherst himself slew one 4 nights since at the Devil's Rest.
Oh. Well then. He actually...
He is...
the captain just takes a step back and goes, shit. Like, kind of like with this subdued, like smirk with his, like, oh my God, big dick in the locker room kind of smile.
Right. Biggest dick energy in the square. What are you talking about?
All right. This
It
guy's
wraps
12
4
feet
times
tall.
around before I get up in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. Fern reached out and actually put his hand on Amherst's shoulder, and he says, in fact, if it wasn't for him, I myself may have been laid low by the beast. It ran me through. I barely survived.
Good on you. From what lands? Well, where were you born?
Myself?
Nah, he's speaking to Amherst.
Right. DM help me out. I think we had that set up once, but I can't remember the actual place.
No, I don't know. I don't actually remember the wood that you were actually born in, but you can say where the Umbrianer come. Excuse me, the fair folk come from. It's the Woodland Kingdom.
Right. Up from the Woodland Kingdom, one of the uncommon Dawn fair folk to actually go and travel around at a common pace. I actually haven't been home in quite a few cycles.
Last I checked, they bide fine.
As we all hope.
They've had no small amount of peace for the past several thousand cycles. However, this lack of sun, and he actually looks up to see the dusk that is the Gloomwillow cycle now.
Yeah.
I don't suppose that they're just trying to recover.
It has taken a toll.
That beast that slew Vostru, or at least her avatar, I hope he got his comeuppance.
I hear, according to the legends, one of your people was involved with laying him low.
I would not be surprised.
The tales I hear from Teriak was that it was one named Dragon. Are you familiar with him?
I do not know him personally, but I'm familiar with him.
Great hero of your people. I hear your people have, and at this point, Fern had been sort of holding back, but now that he knows the fellow will actually talk to him and not just, throw him through with a spear, he's getting back to himself. He says, at some point, I'd love to sit down with you and speak to you of your lands and the tales you have there. I hear you have some of the best. I'm a scribe myself. It's a thing that we seek out knowledge of all.
I'm familiar with your people. Ibis records all stories, great and small.
Yes. He keeps record of all souls that pass upon this the face of this land, and keeps record of their deeds. He charges us to do the same in life, so that those deeds are not forgotten.
Hopefully in the next life, if I do not survive this one on the sands, hopefully we'll meet again. But he will bow to the both of you, and the rest of his troopers will either actually give you a curt nod or bow slightly. It's like a 15-degree tilt. It's like a really heavy nod. And they'll walk
Keep
off.
eye contact when head goes down.
Yeah, right. It's very Arvorian thing to protect the jugular, because they're tall and that's a big target.
Amherst would bow back and tell each of them that look in his direction, basically. Safe voyage, Godspeed. May Lekra watch over you.
They return the blessings. They're the archpriest of the Silent Monolith still stands out there on kind of like the temple's front porch and watches them leave. He'll watch them until they disappear, and basically being the pope of this religion here in the East, he'll just kind of stand there and wait for anybody else to who wants to come and see him.
Fern will look up at Amorous and he'll look at the fellow and sort of give him a very respectful nod, and then turn and start heading towards the gate leading down to the armory house, or the guard house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amherst follows, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Okay. Next scene, you will be coming up on the militia house. It has a nice big front yard in it, actually up and to the left. You actually have to walk along a cobblestone pathway. Um, and if you you look off to your left, you'll see two columns worth of troopers sparring with each other. Just everyone's paired off. There's like 300 guys here. You have a sergeant walking up down the line, form 1, form 2, form 3, takedown, sweep. Right, and he'll actually walk up to somebody who's not doing it right, and with either a riding crop or a practice sword, because I learned traditional kendo from a World War II survivor. Being beat in the head with a shinai to make you pay attention. Yeah, a practice sword. Whack! No, raise your shield when you thrust. Come on now. That is the cacophonous scene there. Young men getting bruised and yelling at each other. One of the more plumed guys out there, which looks to be, actually, wait here, hang on. He looks like he could possibly be like a field marshal, or maybe a colonel, something like that. He's kind of milling about with a couple other like high-ranking officers there, and they're just watching these lads beat the shit out of each other. That's the scene outside the militia house. Should you wish to ignore this and go inside, I can describe what goes on inside.
So Fern will pause for just a moment, noticing their form, and are they any good? Or are these newly trained individuals who've just taken up the practice sort of the first time?
These guys are towards the end of their basic training. So if it's a U.S. Army basic training is 10 weeks. If you want to equate it to that, they're pretty close to graduation. Like,
okay,
they're out practicing right now.
Is it a broad racial mix, or a different kind of people, or is they mostly one type? Are mostly Italians, mostly Ebon folk?
About 60% are Ebon folk. And of that 60%, maybe 8 are Geats.
Okay.
A mix, 8% of that is about Geats and Woodmen outside the city, country folk. Surprisingly, about 25% are actually Italians. And you notice some of the Italians are some pretty vicious fighters. The captains here that are walking up and down the lines with practice swords, they have ordered these young Italian lads to actually fight with their blindfolds off.
That's going to shudder up Fern's spine. Big time.
No, it says an Italian with his blindfold on and an Italian with his blindfold off are two different animals.
Seeing those eyes.
And another 14 or 15 some odd percent are dusk fair folk, which are very nimble fighters. And the rest are a mix of ogres, half-breeds, and bearded folk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, hang on. And you see about 9 Nagaxkith in there. 9 of them. Enough for a squad.
Nice character if I die.
There you go. Yep. There you go. I thought you'd appreciate that, Keith.
Okay. So as I walk toward the house, I'll notice them, and Gaxkith. He does obviously Fern's natural curiosity is kicking in, and he's watching those Gigaxkits with a with a critical eye, how they move, how they act, because he hasn't really seen a lot of them.
They're very powerful in their motions. They're nimble, but you won't see a big, mastiff muscle builder kind of Nagaxkith. They're very lean, they're very tough, they're very durable, and they're corded. Like, there's going to be a lot of definition with the muscle, a lot of cardio.
Yeah.
One of the pairs of combatants closest to you guys, and they're like 20 feet away, like they're really, really goddamn close, is a young Atean with his blindfold off. There is a lieutenant and 2 sergeants watching this Atean absolutely piss pound the shit out of an Ebon folk. Just he's whooping his ass. There's a point where someone gets a gauntlet to the back of to the teeth, which is the Atean, and the Atean just quite literally off chain rabid dog jumps on him. And the lieutenant actually has to walk over with his riding crop and actually get him underneath the chin and force him to actually look up at the XO there. It goes, easy. Come on now. Stand up. And he's bleeding from the fucking nose. He stands. He's like maybe 17. And he walks back to where he is because he actually busted his sword. Picks up the 2 halves, and the sergeant goes, mind your ear, boy. He's like, oh, is my ear still there? And he's like, the fuck, his ear is off. That's the scene that unfolds for you.
Amos is actually just, yeah, I mean, Amos is actually just looking like at these pairs and just noticing they're all fighting with either swords, spears, or shields, right? Like, those are like the only
spears. You get a couple taller fighters that are actually using maybe like a war sword or a longer broadsword for them. And a couple guys back are actually training with pole arms. You see an ogre with the pole arm is actually pretty awesome to see.
I mean, this thing's probably like 12 feet long, so yeah.
Right,
That's a big spear.
Big boy. Okay, so I guess we'll make our way inside. I guess we have the duty officer would be there. I'm not sure how you identify him as such, but find someone that looks like they're somewhat important.
Right. Look for the elaborate plumage. You see a couple clerks sitting behind a desk, and they're unfortunately army admin. They look so bored and so angry that they're not outside.
The worst thing in the military, to be stuck behind a desk job.
Right.
Yeah. Do you actually does Thorne actually say that out loud by chance?
What does he? I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, actually he does. It's not like super loud, but like he sees how bored they are. It's like it's gotta be the worst thing in the world for a militant person being stuck behind a desk.
Fern looks over at you, looks at them, and says, "That looks like heaven to me." I mean, think about all the things they have to keep track of, all of the supplies, all of the different companies. I mean, all that stuff flying, just coming across your desk, you knowing all about that.
There's a catwalk above you, like the floor above that's kind of like got like a cutout, and you'll actually see as you're kind of like looking around. Yeah, excuse me, there's a mezzanine up there, and you see a tome fly across from one corner to the other, as a couple pages fly out, and then you hear the words "Never piss off supply" as the tome bangs against the other wall, and someone quite literally just rage quit, and you hear someone kick a door. It opens, fucking slams behind him.
Fern will utter a prayer under his breath, actually not really under his breath, probably out loud in XIII. And he will go and try to grab these pages that are falling.
You can get them as they can just float down to you.
And he starts snatching before they hit the ground. The floor is probably covered in reeds and mud and such.
Oh, this is the other foyer. They're not cleaning it.
Yeah. So yeah, he tries to rescue as many of these pages as he can. Smoothes them out. Actually walks over one of these clerks' desks where he's working and actually clears his space off the side without saying anything and lays them out. They're flat. He looks around and he says, "Did I miss any?"
Nope. You got all 8 pages.
Yeah. So,
a couple like the privates or corporals are just sitting there. Oh, someone pissed off the captain again.
Never piss off supply.
Sorry.
Yes.
All the vets of my of our audience are like just fist pumped for me.
Probably. So yeah. So once Fern has these gathered together, his instinct is to find a way up there because there's a book that's damaged. Obviously, it needs to be put rights. So
are you looking at these pages at all?
Yeah, he looks at them to see what's on them.
It is a ledger for the next 3. It's a ledger order for the next 3 cycles worth of supplies that's going for. It sounds like from these pages, it sounds like the overseer is paying for the provisions to get the Arborians across the sea.
Okay.
Like out of his pocket.
Of course, immediately at that point, once he realizes what he's looking at, he'll stop and he'll move to the next page and start reading down the list. He's suddenly, oh, this is interesting.
A lot of food, a lot of horses, ships. 200 war galleys have been ordered for this. 200. 200. And you can't count that high to. Yeah, there's price tags for all this, and you can't count that high. You're like, I don't know, there's money for that.
I don't know. I have pretty high academics.
Right.
I have a 10 in academics, one in a background, and one in a forte. So.
Oh, never mind. Then it's basically a Googleplex for you. Like I have a lot of money.
Okay, it's a lot of money. So, this is enough. Just as a quick provisioning check.
How many grades of provisioning do you have?
My provisioning is 5 grades.
Yeah, this would actually kind of be beyond your ability to be a quartermaster. These documents are extremely important and extremely valuable.
Are they well laid out?
Like a science. The handwriting is very neat. He's not a doctor. He's a professional quartermaster.
So, okay. He turns.
Where does the book land?
The book lands on the upper tier. It was above you. You saw one.
Right.
You guys are in the foyer. You look up. You just saw a book fly from one end to the other and hit something.
Oh, okay.
And then a bunch of pages flew out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah, Fern is actually going to, at this point, forget he has a friend named Amherst Thorne, and he's looking for the stairway up.
It's right there. Just across the way. There's 2 that go up to the next stair.
He goes over, starts heading up the stairway.
He just starts walking. And he's private. but you're not.
You're not off the right, and off he goes.
Yep.
So yeah,
I'm going to go up and look for the book.
You find it. Poor fucking thing's ripped in half. No, I'm kidding. It's not. He did not destroy a book, a valuable book.
pages all poking out of it and shit, though.
Pages are poked out of it. Not all of them are ripped out.
He picks the
Spines
poor
partially
thing up,
busted.
make sure that the actual papers are all there, and will carry it down to one of these tables that he was working at before, clear a little more area, lay it out, and open it up and start reassembling this book into a proper book.
Okay.
This goes here. This goes that one. Okay. Smooth this one out. So.
Meanwhile, I was just looking around like, all right, when's this guy going to come down to yell at us? He's like,
whoever that was, he does not come down. He's either left the building or he's in something else.
Like, I was just like looking around for like any plumage coming to like harass them.
No. It's just anyone from like there's probably Keith, help me out. There's probably a lieutenant that's supervising these guys, and there's like a dozen and a half of like corporals in here.
You probably have a lieutenant. You probably have most anybody who's doing any kind of paperwork is probably at least a corporal.
Okay.
The
they're mostly corporals.
Yeah, if there's a private, that private is probably doing guard duty at the door.
Oh, there's two at the door.
Yeah, they wouldn't be trusted with actual paperwork.
Yeah, no.
You know,
you're not smart enough.
They haven't been proven. Yeah, they haven't been proven to be sentient yet.
One of the admin guys that was rude. One of the admin guys that actually looked up when the book flew over. I'm actually going to go up to him and kind of rap his desk to get his attention real quick.
Oh, he looks up a little startled. They kind of like they're so like balls.
Yep, autonomous. Yeah.
All right.
Who is that guy that yelled?
Oh,
and trust me, I know there's probably a lot of guys that yell, but that one in particular that threw the book.
The one that flew through the book. Let me get you his name here quick. Right.
And is that a common thing for him to do, or is this a special occasion being pissed off?
He doesn't. Well, he just kind of cocks his eyebrow at you, like almost like at the beginning, like, "Who are you?" But he doesn't say like. But he answers your question because he's trained to do so.
Right.
He says the officer's name was Alder. He spells it for you, ALDR. And he is the captain who is seeing over the provisioning for the ships that are taking the Fae across the sea, and he's been under more stress than usual lately because it's no small thing to have 200 ships ordered 5 days ago, and the Fae want to leave yesterday.
Yeah, kind of figured.
And he's called for what farmers that have crop available to be recalled to the city, and the couriers are not moving fast enough, and that's why he said we don't piss off supply.
You really don't. Bad juju. As soon as this guy gets done spewing this, I'm assuming these guys have name tags or something to show their names on their desks, or no?
Not name tags, but rank. Like they got bars.
Okay.
He's a corporal.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Corporal. Keep up the good work. And with that, Albert is actually going to turn away and go back to where Fern is to see how he's doing.
You have successfully put the head quartermaster's ledger back together.
All right.
Captain Alder is who we got to go see if you want to go return that.
Ah, good. I need to give a little talking to about respecting books. And
the corporal just kind of like stands up with his fingers. He goes, "He's a captain, but he's officially the head quartermaster."
Understood. At least speak the same
Thank you,
language.
Corporal.
And he just sits down and goes back to work. Very meekly.
Right. Sit down.
Amorous, lead
No, he
the
doesn't
way.
say it out loud.
You're the person. Amorous, you lead the way. You're the person who has the way with people.
Just
Trust me, some of these people need their ways taken, so it's okay. Yeah. Amherst will kind of look up at the doorway the book flew from and kind of like, I assume in the mezzanine, if they went back up that same staircase, they could go all the way around the perimeter and be over to that guy's doorway.
right. You just have to take the left-hand stair, go up, and it's like the third door down. But you get
Okay.
up there, you see, and then you see the door, and like, oh, okay, that's where the
Yeah,
flew from.
that's where it flew out from. I do not know what rank of field marshal is off the top of my head. I feel bad now.
Right? I should know. What's higher, the field marshal or the colonel?
Is the field marshal equivalent to general? I think it would be field marshal then.
Field marshal is equivalent to a general, so 1 star. So yeah, no, then no, yeah, then
that
yes,
would-
yes, that's right.
Because that would be an
That's a brigadier.
07.
So theoretically speaking, could there have been the field marshal and 2 colonels out there seeing over these? Okay, then all right, then those would be the 3
More
guys
likely.
there.
Yeah.
They'll actually come back in at this time as you guys are going up the stairs.
Oh shit. But yeah, no, he will just go up the stairs and look for Alder's door and just kind of point the fern of, I think it's that one over there.
Okay.
I'll be cradling this book gently as he's walking.
Yeah, you go up to that door. Assuming you knock, you'd open it. You just walk in.
I don't know. What's our protocol here, Amherst? We knock on the door. We just walk in. Do we go get one of
Is
those
the door
guys downstairs to
still open?
introduce us?
The door is in fact closed.
The door is in fact closed. Head quartermaster, what is their actual rank? Or would it just be quartermaster?
He would just be quartermaster, yeah. But he specifically is a captain. Like,
Okay, so he actually is a captain.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I will actually, I'll go up. I'll rap on the door.
You hear a male voice inside just say, "Come."
I'll open the door and let Fern go in first with the book.
He'll go in. He'll place the book on the edge of the desk. He has a disapproving look on his face, just so you know. He says,
All right.
It's back in order now. Steps back. Folds his hands inside his sleeves in front of him.
Oh, the head quartermaster just looks at the book, looks back up at Fern, and
What are you?
he goes, "Oh, good lad." And he just takes the book and goes back to where he's fucking working before.
Fern looks over to Amherst and says, "What do you want to ask the guy?"
I think for the question we need answering, the captain and head quartermaster is actually not the one for that. I think we just want to return his property.
True. Although, he looks over at him because he starts remembering back certain about certain things. He says, "Quartermaster, I do have one question to ask you, if possible. I know you're very busy. I've seen the books. That's an amazing work, by the way."
Oh, thank you. He actually does the fingertips on his temples. I thank you.
Maybe you can answer a question for me.
Yes,
About a rumor.
I hope so.
I encountered a fellow. Well, we ourselves encountered a fellow a few nights back at the Devil's Rest who attacked us. We were able to fend them off, but one of the perpetrators escaped. I'll give him the sort of the general address of the fellow, and he said, "Do you by chance know where he may have wound up?"
If he wasn't crucified out back, then he's probably in the cells beneath.
I guess we should check out back first and then look in the cells beneath.
Is he a family member of yours?
No, we just like to ask him why him and his fellows accosted my person and the personage of my friend.
Oh, so you were the lot that had that fight the other night. Yes, I heard about that.
We're merely minding our own business, conducting business with the city. When these ruffians burst in,
that's what the tavern owner said, that you boys were having a nice, quiet, peaceful evening. He stresses that, and these brigands set upon you.
Yes, to their horror, they did set upon us.
Hmm.
We defended ourselves, but the one fellow got away, and unfortunately, the others, before we were able to actually ask them why they were setting upon us, expired.
I see, and those were the bodies that some found.
From what I understand, yes.
I see.
Our friend Tane actually did a good job of cleaning the place up. For the tavern
I
keeper,
believe
he has to have a place of business.
That he has been hanging for a few days. Check the backyard.
Thank you very much. So we turn and go outside and go out to the crucifying yard.
Oh, it's just a forest of crosses out there. Some said that because Felport has a very very simple law. You break the law, you get punished. Whether that's, in Dungeons and Dragons terms, that's more lawful evil than anything. A thief would get your hand chopped off. Disrespecting any of the watch who might get you summarily executed in the street and left there for the seagulls. But the trains go on time, the ships are full, and the people are fat and happy because everyone gets fed. So you get back out there and you see an individual that looks like one of the guys that you came across on a closer inspection. He died very recently, and one of the poor privates who's manning the forest of crosses, he says, was this a family member of yours? It's kind of like the sorrowful tone in his voice.
Would-be murderer.
Oh, he's died about an hour or so ago.
Huh.
Can you tell me, as you're bringing him down, can you do a quick search of him real quick?
Oh, you want this one down? All right.
Yeah.
He fucks off to get about 6 other guys to help him, because they actually take the whole cross down.
Very efficient.
And they leave him on the ground there, nails and all, and the sergeant there just ravish him.
Okay. Well, I'm not interested in that, but thank you very much for the offer. He walks over and he starts pulling the guy's clothes aside to look underneath him, start searching the body. He's looking to see if he has a brand.
Nobody has an anklet.
Oh. He waves Thorn over. Motions to the
Take
anklet.
that.
Okay. See if I can get it off. Does it have like a clasp or a latch or anything?
It does have a latch.
Okay, undo it.
As soon as you get the thing off of him, the thing turns to dust. And he quickly turns to a mummy and decomposes. Like, all of the negative energy of the underworld just... Yeah. His gear, any metal implements on him rusted and turned to dust. And a couple of these guys are just like, oh, shit. And they step back. A couple of the privates draw their swords like, what the hell was that? And the sergeant is very accusatory, very angrily looks at the two of you with this. You won't fucking explain this?
He turns and looks at them and says, Underworld has vampires.
Matter of factly, too, like, first time seeing a vampire?
Vampire? What do you mean? Underworld has vampires.
I don't think they're going for it.
No, they're just like,
sorry.
What, the
At
underworld?
that point, Fern realizes he's not giving them enough information. He's, okay. You see, this fellow here was a servant of a vampire by the name of Farad that was dispatched approximately, what was it? He looks over at Thorn 5 or so days ago. He was the only one that got away of the total of 10 who came with him to lay certain people within the city low. In fact, one very upstanding landowner in town was assaulted. It was very, very horrible. I mean, just a huge scandal. Anyway, we've been looking for him for a few days. Finally found out that the watch had actually picked him up, came here to question him, and unfortunately he expired before we got here. You may have noticed I removed something from his ankle. It was an anklet, apparently, that was allowing him to, I don't know what would, occult insight. Yeah. I know what it did in the underworld. But, let's see, 7.
Yeah, these poor kids, these poor young
18.
guys, white as a sheet.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
18 is what I got. So I make the assumption that it was a similar anklet to what you're wearing in the underworld?
It absolutely was.
Okay. So in the underworld, a living person has to wear one of those to keep from being basically eaten by the world. Apparently, these guys coming from the underworld, once they're here in the land of the living, have the same problem. Thus, they must wear the anklets. And when it's removed, they do that. Thus proving they were...
Time catches back up.
Yes.
The sergeant just looks at you guys, and looks back at his troop, and he looks back at you two, and kind of, that's above our pay grade, sir.
Okay. I got one. Magic and faith. That's all you need to tell anyone else you ask.
A couple of these guys actually spit on the ground and say, "Cost sorcery."
Yes. Foul.
There we go. Much easier.
Note, I was not the sorcerer. I only broke the spell.
Yeah.
Well, good lad.
I have no idea what the fuck to do right now. Like, oh shit.
They're kind of like podunk as shit city folk, all right?
Right.
Ferd looks at the fellow, sort of smiles a bit. Says, "By the way, when anything like this happens, is there someone you report to about something like this?"
I don't think it's ever happened.
To them?
They kind of like, they look at each other like,
odd things, or say, for instance, when I don't know, a body winds up is found in the back by a drain of blood, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't know them, but I know someone who could report that sort of thing to somebody else.
Yes, we would like that person's name.
I almost said Field Marshal Rommel. Oh my God. Yes, the Desert Fox. Excuse me. No.
Let's not say we didn't.
You're right.
I will refrain from jokes.
You're right.
Because I had 9 of them. 9.
Okay. It says Field Marshal Silipos actually has a ledger of incidences about those sorts of things, and he reports them to another person.
And it said Field Marshal currently here at the militia house.
He was inspecting the troops before.
Ah,
Like,
he's the one we saw outside.
He's like, gee, he's saying it like he's reading from a book, very institutionalized.
This is what I have been told to tell you when someone asks me this. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Gentlemen.
They salute.
Fernlask gives a bow to them. He says, thank you.
Actually, when they salute, Amos will actually snap to and actually give a proper salute.
There you go.
Fern just does a little bow.
All right. Attaboy. Oh yeah, the vets are very pleased with this session anyway.
Don't piss off supply, don't piss off tech. No,
don't piss off tech.
No, don't piss off. Oh God, don't piss off tech.
So we reconvene in the foyer. You have been told where the field marshal's office is, and there's a few guards outside who kind of like they stop you, they disarm you because it is their job, and we're gonna pick it up there. It's like you need to leave your weapons on the rack. Pointy points over there.
As they go do that, I actually.
Go ahead. Do you think?
No, go ahead, Fern. Go ahead.
So Fern walks over, pulls out his tulwar, whips it around a few times in a bit of a flashy bit of swordsmanship, and places it on the top rack, blade up.
And the shield.
Oh, he hangs the shield next to it.
Is that all?
All right, Elizabeth.
He reaches down and pulls his quill out and lays it up on top of his shield. Will that suffice? I have been told it's mightier than the sword.
That particular lieutenant says, yes, it is actually. And says, do not make me get one of these Ateans to search you.
Fern reaches to his back and pulls out an old copper dagger and places it up on the rack as well.
And these two look at Thorn.
Fern breathes deep, looks out his side, says, this is going to take a while, and walks over and gets his seat.
And before anyone else can say it, it's like disarming Germany.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you. No, in all seriousness, most of the daggers Amos actually has on are actually on basically the braces. Mm-hmm. They all come off in like sets of 5, wherever they are, sets of 3 to 5. Yeah, I mean, it's good like 6, 7 bracers worth of daggers, though. He will put the shield up.
We're going to be here for about 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
A couple of
these
guards are just like, oh, God.
And some of the daggers, he actually has not cleaned completely of blood. He's like, oh, that one killed 3 of them in one shot. Hang that one up. This one took out 2. That one went to that guy's skull. That was kind of cool.
Little brain on that hilt there.
Yeah, like kind of like his own showing off. As he gets rid of all the daggers and the shield, he will, however, pull out Clap and look to the lieutenant or whatnot and say this is a religious relic.
It's safe. There are no thieves in this building, and if there are, they're very, very suicidal. They will remain on that shelf.
He'll put it up there, and he'll turn back to the lieutenant and say, can I get your name by chance?
Amro.
Amro. That's easy enough to remember. I'm Amris. I remember that, though. Thank you.
He's actually a Duskfair folk.
Well met.
Your things will be safe.
So, yeah.
Is that all?
Yes.
Fern thinks about it for a moment, reaches into his pouch and pulls out his sharpening knife, which is a very, very, very short thing, and puts it up next to his quill. Can be construed as a weapon.
He calls for an Atean searcher, or an inquisitor, and he just shows up. He shows up, and he just his blindfold on. He just crosses his arms. Do I have to?
Vern opens his robe and turns around and shows him, I have nothing else. He'll take his bag, pull it out, lay his new journal out there, go through it, his couple of vials of ink he has in there, his old wax tablet he's carried around. He says, well, the stylus is pointy. Would that count?
Anything enough to cut a throat.
Well, this would just poke a throat. I can really cut a throat with this. Just saw pretty hard to do
You're
it.
a scholar. We're going to be here a while.
But yeah, I could possibly rupture an artery. I mean, when you put it inside the neck, it becomes spraying out. You could possibly work that way. So yeah, probably.
So the Inquisitor just turns to Amorous and just he points to you.
Now I can bludgeon someone to death with this. Is
that all you? He actually opens the door to the field marshal's office there, and actually walks in with you. And he reassures the field marshal that they have been searched.
You hear me saying outside to the Atean, I was once told by a master I could talk someone to death. Would that count?
Burns! Come on already.
Yes, Amorous? Oh, we're going in now. Okay. So, sorry, fellas. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay.
Patron saint of patience, I swear. Patience and suffering. Patience and suffering.
So inside the office.
Yes, inside the office.
There's
field marshal.
Colonels, the field marshal, a few guards there. More or less a troop of honor guard that are in there. Your wave to the front.
Come to the front, look over to Amorous. Should I start, or do you want to talk to the guy?
You go right ahead. You've been lead of this so far.
Okay. We were attacked by vampires 5 days ago, and one of its servants just disintegrated out in your backyard with it across his arm. So make you aware of that. And I was told to tell you this so that you might actually be able to direct me to people who may be interested in such a thing happening.
The field marshal just leans across the table and with his hand on his chin says, vampires, you say?
Yes, vampires. Well, there was one that I know of. I'm pretty sure the last time he was in town, he said he killed a couple of, as he called them, ragmen.
I'm familiar with this term. It's a particularly filthy vampire.
Yes, that's what he said he was doing. He was doing something about taking them and placing them in a place where the sun could touch them, and I guess that ended them. The fellow out back, I just removed an anklet from his ankle, and he fell apart. By the way, the anklets, they're actually a means of creatures from they're not technically the underworld, but it's
don't need to know this, but vampires?
Okay. Yes, vampires.
How many?
There was one.
And you've taken care of this?
Actually, Amorous did.
The city thanks you.
Thank you. You're very welcome. I was wondering, we're actually going to take care of more of them. And I was wondering if you could direct me into a place where I could speak to someone who might know a bit about that. Not in the city proper, but to keep them from coming here from where they're from.
You are concerned about and vampires from the underworld coming to Fellport to do what?
Yes. Mischief in general.
Mischief.
Well, primarily coming here to not only purchase slaves for their own personal use, which I'm sure that's fine with them, but also they come with their con games to convince others to come with them to their place. It's called Mizarine, by the way. And in this land of Mizarine, they promise you they're going to give you employment. They don't tell you it's in the underworld. You get there, and they just sort of dump you off on the side of the road and leave you to your own devices. And you spend how long has it been? How long has it been? What, 2 chains? 2 full chains to get like that? Your take? Yeah, getting home. Actually, 3 chains, I think. Yeah, I think. Yeah, let me see. I carried the one. It was that month. That's the month. Yeah, 3 chains. So we don't want that to happen to anybody else. So the underworld has vampires.
Well, bugger me with a fish fork.
Don't think it'll help, actually.
You might wish to speak to Opal.
Opal? Opal?
Opal.
Okay. Opal. Oh, opal. Like the gemstone.
Yes.
Very pretty. Okay. Very beautiful. Yes.
She, however, is probably with the Overseer right now.
Ah.
Along with the Foci and whoever the hell else is in the Citadel.
Will she be long?
Well, she generally does not leave the Citadel unless she is seeing to her villages that she owns.
Huh. Well, if
the fair folk are a
Amorous,
whimsical people. You know, she
they are.
goes from place to place.
I point to Amorous. I know. But yeah. So I wonder what would actually entice her to come to us, I guess would be the proper term, or we could go to meet her. I would want to send a message
Your
to
best
Opal.
bet is just to go and ask for her, and you may or may not get to see her, or you may never get to see her. But she will not come to other people. No, you do not request.
That's understandable.
No.
You have to understand the protocols. We came across this one village in our travels where to ask someone something, you could not directly ask them of it. You had to speak as if you were speaking to someone else. It was very odd. I actually read about it in my Gazetteer. Odd people out there in the world. So yeah,
Interesting.
just want to make sure. Oh, very. I can tell you more.
Is there any more of these vampires that I need to know about?
There's only one. What's her name? Afira? Was that her name?
I don't.
I think it was. Wasn't
I'm not
it?
familiar with that
Afira?
name.
Oh, well, she was the
lady.
Yeah, Farad's master. She was the mastermind behind the bringing in the slaves and the con jobs. Respectable citizens trying to lure them out to their doom.
Oh, that's horrible.
Well, it was entertaining, apparently, according to what they said. So yes.
Who knows what vampires get up to? However,
I can tell you about that too.
What
I like his music.
What I could possibly tell you, and if you divulged this information to anyone, you will be killed for it.
Okay.
This does not leave this room.
Just a note. You may notice that I wear a symbol of the god Ibis. It is part of my religion that knowledge will be spread. So let me walk out of the room and you can tell my friend Amorous.
He just looks at Amorous and says, yes, save your friend.
Okay. Fern
looks over to him and Fern says, you'll handle this, He's a wonderful bard, a musician. You can actually listen to him sing sometimes. And he turns and heads out front.
Right. There is an individual that resides beneath this militia house by the name of Harrow. Go and talk to him. He might be able to speak to you about this vampire problem. If you divulge the location of this individual to anybody, and I do not care if it is the religion of your friend, so long as he is in the Ebon Vale, he will not convey this to anyone or write it down or spread it in any way to anyone that would affect it would affect negatively in this realm. You are guilty by association, and you both might find yourselves on a cross out there. I have spoken.
He will simply nod. And he will look at everyone else in the room, look back to the field marshal. He will snap to attention and say if that is all, or if he may take his leave.
You are dismissed. Travel safely, citizen. And he actually returns the salute.
Yeah. I was going to say, Almers would actually snap the salute, and he will actually do a 180 maneuver and then march out the door in step.
Attaboy.
His heels clicking the whole way.
So back out in the foyer.
Vern is actually talking to one of the guards and telling him a story about one of the tribes where the custom of the tribe was, if you are a visitor, part of their hospitality is that they automatically give you a woman of the village to comfort your nights and keep you warm. He's basically going into very, very intimate detail of the body art these women like to decorate themselves with.
I'm sorry, I was muted there. Yeah, he's trying to do like the whole British guard thing, completely like deadpan, straight faced, trying to ignore you, but clearly he blushes.
Okay.
Not doing a very good job of straight face.
Yeah, when they use that one needle for that one area, that must be absolutely torturous. And he looks, oh, Amaris, you're not. You're back.
Burn.
We'll talk more later, Private. Yes.
You're blabbing again.
I know. I'm just really excited because, I've been so down and so sort of quiet, and I actually finally understand something.
Shall we be off?
I think so. So note, as we're walking out, if we see these guys again, go for the foot. Move that. We break that blanket there. That blanket. Blankets around their ankles. Anklet. If we break that anklet off of their foot, they'll just droop and turn into that putrescence in the back. Very easy way to deal with it. So
way above his pay grade.
The whole time Fern's just going, Almers is just like, yep.
He tells you he's heard a legend of a story back way back. Apparently, there's a Arborean story about a great hero that his mother somehow through some ritual made his skin impenetrable, but because she had to hold him the entire time, her hand covered the back of his heel, and that was literally the only place he could actually be wounded. So it's very similar to that because we have to go for the ankles. So maybe some of your Arboreans might actually have an idea how to do that.
We'll have to find out later on.
When we get outside and he sees the Italians, he shuts up.
Yep. I said Atayans are spooky.
Come, we have another place to go to.
Got any blindfold or something? Like a hood over my head?
A blindfold might actually not be a bad idea. But at the same time, I don't want to put it on you quite yet.
So, where are you planning on going?
We are going to go find Harrow.
He lives underneath the militia house, as you were told.
Right. Now, is this like out of the way secret, like dwelling, or is it just he lives there and no one really thinks to ask him questions?
There's a door leading into what you would assume to be a basement or the catacomb beneath the militia house.
Okay.
There's just an archway. It has a slight cool breeze coming out through it. It was out the foyer. The foyer.
Okay. Sure.
May I go for
yeah. Vern's gonna be right back.
Right.
Unless someone is like around to try to question, which I'm assuming there's not.
No,
but I will make an awareness check if you need me to.
Yeah, that archway doesn't have any guards near it, and the corporals are just kind of like staying away from that side of the room, which might be a little spooky and suspicious.
Right. Yeah. Amherst will push the door open, keeping Fern behind him.
Okay.
Is it lit up in there at all?
Yeah, there's torches. I go down. You go down the stairway. And it looks like a jail down there.
Okay.
There's a couple more rough looking, you assume, militia down there, and you see that Atayan Inquisitor from before.
Yeah.
He is doing some unspeakably foul things to a prisoner. You assume from the torturous things that are going on down here that I won't necessarily go into, that this guy is clearly a rapist or a murderer.
Right. And like, there's actually like I'm gonna have to do that.
The last thing, as you continue down that hallway, that you see is him, the Inquisitor from previously. He sinks a stiletto point behind the kneecap of this individual, and the wail, the ear-splitting, blood-curdling wail that emits from the lips of this poor man, or poor subhuman trash, as it turns out. The Satayan just looks up and he smiles horribly.
30 on the self-control check to not intervene.
Yep.
Yeah.
Attaboy. Fernelius, someone is being tortured.
I look over at the person being tortured and the person doing the torturing.
The Atayan Inquisitor from before. Yep. Blindfold still on, by the way.
Yeah, he sort of shivers as he sees this whole situation going down. The person being tortured, does this person look like? I don't know. What does he look like? I guess what I would say.
He is a he's an ebon folk, pretty darkly tanned, so he's clearly been out in the sun quite a bit. He kind of like has the air of like a sailor about him, so he's probably a pirate of some kind.
Okay. So, yeah, Fern's going to speak up and say, "Hey, what did he do, by the way? What's all this going on?"
Oh, this one.
Yes.
The Indian slips that dagger out from behind that kneecap, and the whole body just jerks up. He's passed out, by the way. This one, he threatened and assaulted the daughter of one of the nobles of the city.
Oh.
When they were on holiday, and we found him. Oh. And he's going to tell me, he picks up some water, dumps it on him to wake him up, and he gets in his face, and he's going to tell me where the rest of his mates are. Takes the blindfold off. You see those opalescent eyes glow in the dark down there. But he turns to look at the two of you. Gentlemen, what do you require of me down here?
Amorous.
We were told. He like kind of stops because he knows what the field marshal told him.
Mm.
Well, actually, wasn't the Inquisitor still in the room?
No, the Inquisitor left already. He swaggered the fuck off like he owns the place.
Okay, because you said upstairs that he walked into the field marshal's office with us. I didn't know if he left to the end or not.
But he left with you. He left when you guys went inside. He told the field marshal that you guys had been searched, and then he fucked off.
He buggered off. Okay, that's what I wasn't sure about.
Okay.
But yeah, like he stops before he goes to talk about this because the field marshal said basically, "Don't fucking tell anyone what you're doing." And so I'm just like trying to figure out how to word it to not incriminate anything. As like we were told to come talk to someone who does not want to be known outside of this area. And under rules by someone above my pay grade, that is all I can really say.
The Inquisitor just simply says, "Ah." And since the oh shit, fuck, awesome. I just crit. The Inquisitor just looks at his captive there, and he smiles, that Hannibal Lecter smile that we all know, and he walks behind this pirate, and he sticks a finger in like his ear, like his left hand ear, just like sticks it in there, and he sticks the point of the dagger in the other one. And he says, "Go down the hallway. You will find an archway that forks to the right and forks to the left. Go left down the stairway," and he turns the dagger, effectively making this guy deaf in that one ear, "and go down until there's no more torchlight." And he lets this guy hear again. "Gentlemen, I have work to do." And he actually wipes. He's tied the blindfold around like his elbow. He actually wipes the blood off of his dagger on his blindfold there. Sorry, man.
As he walks by, Fern leans over to the fellow and leans down, looks at the guy, notices the trickle of blood in his ear, says, "Put a little bit of alcohol in that. It'll keep it from getting an infection. It'll also hurt more." And he walks on by. He was helping in the long run.
So the Inquisitor's like, oh, yes. He calls for some wine to be brought.
No, not wine. It must be more potent.
I didn't say for him. I said for me. Now be off with you.
Yes. But,
Come on, Fern, you're blabbing again.
of course. It's good information. Anyway, besides, that fella should be talking because that's wrong. He follows Amorous down the hallway.
Yeah. So I will follow the Inquisitor's directions. Fork. Go down to no more torchlight.
Yep. You guys are standing at the end of a twisting, winding hallway at the last torch sconce. Make a danger
Anything
sense,
else
familiar?
danger
Does this
sense
seem-
test.
Does this seem familiar, Amorous?
A little bit.
That's,
Is Clap lighting up at all?
Nope.
God, I gotta carry your ass again because I got a 29.
Yeah, right. I'm not.
He's over here making jokes. I gotta carry his ass this session.
Mike, you really don't want. No, there is something in your Sealy blood here that God, every fiber of your Fey being is going. We're not walking down the hallway. We're just not.
Like,
I'm gonna say it was nearly as bad as that feeling of foreboding walking into Moldark's castle.
okay.
And that palpable feeling of dread when you had a personal audience with him.
So would I actually be able to equate that to a vampiric presence or just a presence of darkness?
Yes.
God damn it.
Yeah, I know.
Is it bad enough
right?
that I should? Is it bad enough that I should do a self-control test?
Yes.
Or am I? Okay.
so
This is a save
Fern
against
takes-
fear.
Fern takes about 3 steps beyond because he doesn't make his roll.
You're quite literally oblivious with a
And he
9.
stops and looks back at Amorous. What's wrong?
22. That's a 30 on the dot.
Nice.
Is it the dark? Is it the darkness here? Is it too dark for you? I can make it a torch. It's perfectly fine to me. He looks
No
around.
torches. This is like dealing with Modark all over again.
Oh, okay. That's when we're down here. Gotcha.
So yeah, with him making that, and even though he is fighting every fiber of his own being, I assume there is a doorway or something, or is it literally just an archway and we're just looking at a blank wall?
Well, there was a door there at one time, but it is just a blank, archway. It just...
And it's pitch black inside, I'm assuming, correct?
Yep. They don't need light.
I know they don't. I'm actually going to take out Clap in my right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, it's not going to do anything now, but if I'm about to be pounced upon, it bitch is going to light up.
The photoactiveness of the Fey Iron in this weapon actually glimmers slightly.
Oh, there you go.
It sheds light similar to a large candle. Not a torch.
Okay.
A large candle.
Right. Literally just enough for me to see my next few footsteps, basically.
Right?
Yeah. So I will do that. And actually, I'll look back at Fern and be like, since we know what we are possibly walking into, as well as just respect for the darkness, would you like to take point and I stay behind?
Certainly. He loosens the tulwar in its scabbard. And he turns and walks about a few feet down the hallway and gauges the distance of the light behind him. Takes one more step and says, "Follow me." And walks into the darkness.
You have a slow decline down into what seems to be the hill that Felport is kind of like built on. And kind of like why it was worked stone, but now it's going into a catacomb. Almost like an undercity catacomb, half natural cave gallery, half. Oh, these were once hill folk, primitive hill folk. You actually walked by a few cave paintings while you were here.
Pause and look, just to note them.
But you guys aren't quiet. You guys are wearing your armor down here. Anyone who is down here knows you're coming.
I get the feeling he knew we were coming as soon as I touched that archway, so I'm not really too worried about being quiet.
And there's a guy carrying a candle in the darkness. So.
Right, did that too. Thank you, Ravenloft. Thank you.
Right. Vampire the Mist. Hey, Jander Sunstar. I'm not throwing Jander Sunstar at you guys. You find yourselves in a medium-sized gallery. Kind of like in the cave opening. You're stepping out into it as we speak. And you hear a masculine voice go, "Who's that now?" Some voice in the darkness.
I kind of look at Fern like, are you going to go or am I going first?
The voice continues and says, "It's not the feeding day. Feeding day is 2 days from now."
No. Not feeding day.
You know when to come back.
That's true. Asking questions day, actually.
You see a pair of silver eyes just open in the darkness.
Oh, there you are.
What sort of questions? And there's another pair, and another pair, and another pair. There's 12 people down here.
he waves amorous forward, says, "My name is Fernaleus. I'm a scholar of Ibis. This is
Dead
Amorous."
baby.
Yes, my mother was a bit of a statist. He waves, "This is Amorous Thorn. He is a well-known bard. And by the way, he's also very much favored by one Moldark, who believes that he's possibly has the greatest voice in the world. But we came here to ask you a question because you might be able to help us protect the city, I guess, in a way, against vampires from the underworld."
That's a lot to unpack in that statement.
That's kind of been Fern's pro quo right now. I'm knowing a lot of stuff in statements.
You've kind of thrown role-playing and decency to the wind here and just giving off the entire narrative.
This is Fern's thing. So, he's like, at this point, secrets are not a good thing for him.
So anyone I'm associated with or going to be working peacefully with needs to know everything.
Yes. Well, it's also my religion to spread information.
So the entity that you assume is Harrow steps out into the candlelight. And you see a half-breed, an Umbriad, an Umbriad, ebon folk, vampire, wearing the kind of like the militia shirt uniform. Basically, they're BDUs outside their armor. Very well worn. This uniform's at least 150 some odd cycles old, but very well maintained. Clearly, Harrow knows how to sew. He steps out into the candlelight and says, "We're listening."
Amorous, do you want to take this or should I?
He very uneasily just kind of like looks over his shoulder, but like he's on the edge of the darkness, so it's just like half his face disappears for a moment. Uncanny Valley. and he mutters something that you didn't quite catch. And a couple more of these vampires step in. It's a mix of men and women.
Right. Now, Amos will step forward and he'll hold up the anklet, knowing they can see it.
The rusty ring that used to be the anklet. Yep.
Mm-hmm. He'll have that in his left hand. He will actually put clap more toward his hip. He's still holding on to it, but so the candlelight isn't quite in their faces.
They appreciate.
So kind of like a partial respect to them, yes. And he's going to look at all of them, and it's specifically the one that he's assuming is Harrow, even though they haven't asked for him yet.
Right.
To say, this one we took off the one that was crucified. He was one of the ones with Farad who came to kill us. And you can see that didn't work out too well for him.
Oh. Farad was back in town, eh?
Yeah. Keyword
Was.
Oh, did you not sort him out?
Oh, with that, I will literally just hold up clap. And I will say, I have his heart.
Oh. All right.
Or at least what I assume is his heart. Oily black stone, didn't want to touch it with my bare hands.
No, don't. You do not touch that with hands off.
Yeah. Didn't think so.
Unless, of course, you are a necromancer and that is your business to do.
No, I am not.
Prefer wrists. Fern throws his head back a bit.
If you want no small amount of coin, then that heart could be sold to a necromancer or so it traded, and you could buy yourself a small kingdom for that sort of thing. Farad was indeed a small fish in the ocean that is the dead. So, but nevertheless,
Right.
that is a very valuable thing that you possess. Be very careful who you give that to.
I plan on giving it back to Modark.
A couple of the other vampires, that's not a bad idea.
So
But that also comes.
So this comes to the point of our question: how would we get this thing back to Moldark? For Amris has business with him.
All right.
You know, a way, a passageway,
There are gateways to the underworld in lonely places in this world.
Okay.
Do you know where the closest one is?
It's not inside the city.
I kind of figured that much.
That would be a very dangerous thing to have inside the city, I think.
No, that's for that very reason. There are magicians within the city that see to that sort of thing. The mortals here barely tolerate Fae in their city, much less. And that's all he does.
Oh, I understand.
It's implied, yes.
And a couple of the other vampires is,
And what is the price of trying to get to said destination?
well, you would need something. He just kind of it takes a few moments to respond like that. That's really he never in all of his cycles figured that someone would ask him that question, and he for a moment he's like a flash of I have no idea, but he's like gears are turning. I am not aware of any living that wish to return to the underworld. If they'd gone there, the living do not go to the underworld, only the dead. Should you wish to kill yourself, you will not go there naturally. But I'm willing to bet, and I am not a gambling man. He looks at his hand. That you have business with the dead and do not wish to die to do it.
Exactly.
That would be correct.
So theoretically speaking, you would need something, because only the dead go there. You would need something that would protect you from the energies of the place, lest the underworld eat you.
Isn't that what the anklet does?
Like
that this thing used to be?
Oh, yes, but he crosses his arms. How did you get to the underworld and then survive? Because you're clearly not vampires or dead, and you've come back alive. Explain this to me.
This
is very interesting.
I got this, Amorous.
Ladies and gentlemen, story time.
He reaches into his pouch. He pulls out a book. He opens it up.
Oh my God! It's Fernalaeus's happy neighborhood with Mr. Fernalaeus. Oh Jesus!
He proceeds to basically tell them the tale.
The entire thing.
Unless they stop him, yes. He'll begin the tale with them meeting together in the Devil's Rest, and
all right.
The meeting with Farad and with Balinor, and
so
the proposition.
We don't need specific names. Broad strokes.
Okay, broad strokes. So we wind up on this ship, and they take us on this ship on a long voyage. We get off at a town. We're fed a very sumptuous feast. They had fresh blood, which was nice. First, we actually had human blood, which is a little stronger.
Moving on.
And we wind up being put in these wagons. We all fall asleep, and we wake up on a hillside with these anklets on us in this weird place.
So the anklets were put upon you when you end up in the underworld.
Apparently, yes. I'm not sure what time that was placed upon us. We were asleep, of course. I couldn't tell if they were done before we got there or after we arrived or somewhere in between. And then we found this village. And this village is being accosted by a ragman. It was dispatched by a local. Met him, talked to him a bit. He has this fixation with sex, by the way. It's really odd. But anyway, so we wind up. So he goes and actually basically sort of spins the hotel out, up to the point where we wind up meeting. Let me see, meeting Moldark. Amorous promised to come back to play for him. And then we went off to do this thing. At that point, he gets sort of vague, and he says, yeah, we sort of encountered these riders, and one of them did some rituals, sent us back here, and we spent almost 2 chains getting back to here. Then I started writing this book.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. This is probably about 30 to 45 minutes later, I'm assuming.
All right. At this point, you know this is Harrow speaking. You need Moldark to get you these bracelets so the underworld does not consume you. Simply put, Moldark was the one that gives you these anklets.
Oh.
You need to get another pair made.
But
Moldark resides in the underworld.
We were also taken there without Moldark's permission.
That's what he said, at least.
Hey, first.
Yes.
Do you think your dad would have access to any of them?
Possibly. Unless Moldark lied to us and actually knew what was going on. The bracelet, the anklets himself. But, I mean, I assume ours are gone by this point, right?
Hey, you've been talking for hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you had stated in your story that Farad allegedly stole the sorcery that created the anklets.
Right, that's
So,
what we were told, yes.
Hmm.
So maybe we can find out where Farad's ship is. He may actually have a collection of these anklets there. But
I mean, probably
again,
considering he had a whole ship full of slaves, so I imagine he had a stockpile of them.
you would need these anklets, otherwise the underworld will consume you.
and I assume you guys, of course, probably don't have those. So otherwise,
Why on earth would we have them?
Muldark's court is actually really nice. He has this whole larder.
We live here. We have
Okay.
sworn fealty to Fellport and the Overseer. We have a home.
Oh, in that case, thank you for your service. Okay.
And
You by
no
chance know
one
which
outside
ship-
of a handful of people is supposed to know that we're down here. So unless you are
okay.
sworn to secrecy, you should not be.
I don't even know where we're at.
That's above my pay grade to reveal who's told me about this.
And as I said, he, at point for Amorous, has not told me any of your names. So I can't even say who you are.
And I'm just kind of host by saying above his pay grade, that they kind of understand where he got the information from.
Yeah, they're also military, so yeah, they get you.
Yeah, it's the above my pay grade.
So, Harrow, hypothetically speaking, if I were to tell you where a portal to the underworld is, that is indeed still active, that I personally know works and is safe, as well as the underworld can be
Safe?
Safe? Yes. Ish.
Would you hypothetically be able to keep this a secret, as well as us a secret, and be able to make contact with Muldark, as Muldark seems to be your benefactor in all this, in a reasonable amount of time, to where the underworld itself does not consume?
I would think so. I mean, it's a song from Amorous. It's not a a tale for me.
Well, Amorous is also sworn to secrecy, as if I'm correct, I know the 5 people that know of mine and my fellows' whereabouts. He knows the consequences of him conveying this information in any way. You, however, on the other hand, are a half-breed worshipping a pagan god.
Yes, that's true. I will say this. Yes, according to my faith, I must convey information freely. But there is nothing within the tenets of my faith that says I cannot put that information down in such a way that only a person who would be given the ability to understand what I say can understand it.
You must not convey this information in any way.
Well, it won't be. It'll be written down into a book.
No.
And that book will be protected.
You cannot convey this information.
Well, your names won't be mentioned at all. So
it does not matter.
Aaron, I think you might have to leave the room again.
I think I will have to leave the room, yes.
For your safety, for their safety. Moreover, for my safety.
He turns and sort of mutters under his breath in Yethite, for a follower of the God of information, I know very little these days. And he
Hey,
starts
I heard
walking down the
that.
hallway.
Where are you going?
Oh, down here out of earshot.
You cannot be trusted with this information.
Exactly. I'm going out here outside of earshot because I want to protect your secrecy.
You've seen our faces.
I'm not an artist, I'm a writer.
But you know where we're at.
I know generally where you're at. I also knew you were here before. Farad mentioned it. And he turns
Isn't that a good reason why he's dead?
He said, as a citizen of Felport, it behooves me not to tell the enemies of Felport where you're at.
As a citizen of Felport, you should not know that the night keeps your streets safe.
Yes, I've seen you. Actually, I've seen you before. He points at one of the fellows. He's actually, one of the vampires he'd actually glimpsed working with the night watch occasionally. So that's what got him interested in the whole thing of staying in Felport anyway. So I gave something. He said, there is, if I were to write this chronicle down at some point in the future, it will be placed in a place where no enemy of Felport would be able to get their hands on it. I might even gift it to the overseer himself. Would that be sufficient?
Harrow actually steps fully out of the darkness and takes a dagger out. He goes, "Will you swear to that?"
Yes, I will swear to that.
And he cuts his palm and he hands the dagger to you and he holds it out, holds his hand out to shake your hand.
Fine. He reaches down and actually pulls or takes the dagger, cuts his hand, and clasps him. He says, I swear upon the blood of my ancestors and upon the truth of Ibis that the account that I shall write about this shall be gifted directly to the overseer.
And this information will be given to no one else in any way, shape, or form. This is secret.
Richard grinds his teeth a little bit. He says, I am conveying information by giving it to the overseer. Therefore, it does
and to no one else.
And to no one else. I shall not give that book to anyone else.
And once you give this book to anyone else, it shall never leave your lips again, or your hand. This is what happens when you make a pact with the night.
He nods and says, yes, once I give this book to the overseer, I shall not lay down in words or speak with voice the secrets I knew I will hold dear about you, about your place of residence.
Keith, make a life force test for me.
All right. All right, 3 6s later.
Oh. 3 6s?
35.
Wait.
Sorry, three 8s later and a 6. Sorry, I misspoke.
Okay. So you do not get any corruption this time, making peaceful congress with the dead.
Finally.
Harrow lets you go.
Okay.
He just looks over at Amorous and says, does this conclude our meeting?
Did he actually give the location? He just made a pact. He didn't actually give the location yet.
Right? Attaboy. He did not give you the location, but he asks you, does this conclude our meeting?
As soon as I get that location. I'm not going to say anything, and you already bound my friend to a blood pact, so.
Out on the Ebon Way. Go out 4 days from the last village. There'll be a fork in the road. Head north on that fork. Follow that road, and you'll find a homestead. It is abandoned. It is a stone ruin. It is not a tribal settlement. It will have 4 fields. Likely it will be overgrown with the wild realm reclaiming the land. You may not recognize it as previous plowed field. There is a shed, a flagstone built shelter. The portal is in there. Travel safely, gentlemen.
Fern nods to him.
Appreciate your time.
And when Harrow turns to step back into the darkness, he half pauses and says, I hope you understand the magnitude of what you've just done. Mostly to Fernelius.
Oh, I understand. I've made a pact with the Great Lord himself.
Good.
I understand how these things work and how powerful they can be.
Armors like he has with all the other military he's dealt with today. He will snap to attention, give an actual salute, say, stay safe, ladies and gentlemen. May the night keep you well.
They, most of them actually returned the salute. A couple of them just melted into the darkness. But with that, we will reconvene the next scene in the XIII apartments. It is sometime in the middle of the night by the time you guys get home.
Right.
Fern will probably be doing his nightly prayers under the moon. So, and he'll since we already know where the place is, he's going to actually do a short ritual, one of the basic rituals he's allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
The whisper upon the wind. And he will, with that ritual, send a message to Tane that we know how to get there now. And request him to return. And
Okay. He will reply as the ritual allows for one single reply. He is outside the city by a couple days, but he will gather his things and come shortly.
Okay. And with that, he'll get up from his prayer there next to the roughly carved ibis. Look over, notice in the garden, if the red ibis is there, is paying any attention at all.
Oh, he's
Looks
not.
back over at Amherst and says, Tane knows now. Well, knows enough.
Was that ibis still out there?
Yes, it is, but it's sleeping. Like it's got a nest under a tropical set of reeds there. Yeah.
Basically, coming back, Amris is kind of just going to make sure he's got everything of his normal, like everyday carry stuff, as well as just start mentally checking off, you know, how much supplies they're going to need for 3 of them, since Tane's coming with. And he's assuming probably in the morning they will go out and provision, and then hopefully leave that afternoon.
Okay.
But besides that, he will leave Fern to his ritual and his nighttime scheduling stuff.
With that, we'll probably go into closing soliloquies. Mike, do you want to give yours first?
Yeah.
If you
so just continue.
have any more to put in, sorry for that scene.
Yeah. Just continuing off of that. After Fern does what he does at night, Amherst would probably head down to the Devil's Rest to, if not play, to at least pluck for whoever is there, as well as just for the staff, just like he does probably almost every night, just to kind of keep them in a higher spirit of things. But that's actually probably where he will stay the night, unless Fern specifically asks him to stay at the apartment. While at the Devil's Rest, he will talk to the tavern master and the maids to help him get at least food provisions to suit them enough for 3 people for as many days as the travel is, plus a couple extra just for contingencies. But besides that, that's what most of his night's going to be. Any money he does make, which he's guessing is probably not going to be a lot, will go straight back to the tavern to either pay for the provisionings or just to give to the tavern. And that would be the rest of his night until Fern finds him in the morning.
We'll go to Fernelius for his soliloquy.
So Fern finishes as Wesley is. He's sitting there on his knees chanting. This little small carved statue of an ibis there before him, the focus of his rights to his God. He thinks back to when his master was teaching him, as he does very often in times like this. He taught him the basic sutras originally, just as at that time, just as an exercise in memorization, an exercise in listening, an exercise in speaking, actually. He thinks of these more complex sutras, and what his master may think of him now, and thinks about the conundrum that he is in, that he has made an oath that he will reveal the location of these vampires to none other than the overseer in the book that he is destined to write. And he thinks to himself, obviously, is how can I get this out of the door at some point is knowledge. But not all knowledge needs to be known by all people. There are times when knowledge in the wrong hands can lead to disaster. And he thinks to the people then that he had saw in Mizarine, their not only respect to the vampires there, but their fear when they saw them walk by. These are predators. Yes, the people of Felport probably should be warned that these predators live in their presence. Would that cause a panic? Will it cause them more harm than good to know this information as it is? And he asked Ibis for his guidance about what he believes that should be said, should be put down in a book, or should be in some way recorded. Maybe long after the current generation of mortals have passed away, or if the vampires were to openly come out and expose their own presence, that might be a time to do so. But he's asking Ibis, is this now the time, or would it cause more harm? He does have a bit of a conundrum on his hands in that regard. Um, he thinks about the travel the next day, beginning to go to the underworld and how they're going to have to accomplish this. And he's worried about Amorous, worried about Tane, but this time at least they know they're going willingly. They know where they're going to. So, and he asks Ibis to inform them with his divine guidance along the way. And once he has done with that, he will retire to his bedroom, read as his custom before he slips off to the land of Morpheus.
Beautiful. As you drift off to the lands of Morpheus, you hear the, I suppose, the Tahites from next door. They're having, they're not being rowdy. Well, rowdy for Tahites is pretty tame. They're having a night of like gambling, like, but gambling gambling is kind of a I shouldn't say that's not a bane because it's not an honest wage. It's they're playing cards and dice, and there's money on the table, but that money is for alcohol and food. And they're playing for who's going to lose and has to go get the food with the money, and they just get to keep the change. Roundabout way of, we're not gambling at all. No. And Amorous will, as he leaves, you hear them rabble rousing about in that alien tongue that Fernelius talks in from time to time, but this night passes calmly and full of pleasant dreams, but there's an uncanny fitfulness to it. You know what you're about to do. Going back into the underworld, possibly fighting and more entities of the darkness, and God forbid you look upon the darkness itself. But with that, we will be back next week. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Good night, everyone.